Good evening and welcome to Body and Soul Awareness with Stephanie and Oxana. Here are your hosts.
Hey, Stephanie. Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. We hope you had a great week. Kai again is with us in studio, so just want to let you know if you hear him in the background, that's why. We just came back from a week in the Outer Banks of Nag's Head, and let me tell you, that is like one of my favorite places to go. It's like its own little world where nothing else is happening in the outside world when you're there. You're totally just in your own little, it's like this little community, and you walk to the beach, and there's all these other people walking to the beach on their little bikes, and we had a wagon this time, and Kai got to be naked on the beach. It was awesome.
I loved every minute of it.
Yeah.
And we've been doing this for the past 4 years.
Yeah.
We're taking a week and going to the beach and forgetting about all the stresses in the world. And actually, this time was amazing because it was also creative. We did a little bit of our work for businesses, but at the same time, really detoxed and got some sun.
Right.
Our shoulders are a little shiny and nice. So,
yeah.
But yeah, coming back was interesting, but we made it.
Yeah, it's crazy. So we're supposed to be in studio at my house in Manassas, but not happening right now because we're in Fredericksburg. Thank God my grandparents live in Fredericksburg because traffic was so bad. We've been on the road since 11 o'clock this morning. This is the bad part, like coming back into reality. But so luckily my grandparents were like, sure, you can come over and do your radio show. So lucky us, they happen to be in a perfect position. So we have a few very special guests coming on tonight. As soon as they call in, we will get them on the air. But until then, let's just chat a little bit more about the vacation. The only reason I want to stress this is not because we're trying to rub it in your face like, oh, you should be on vacation. You need to go, da-da-da. We were just on vacation. Ha-ha, look, we have this gorgeous glowing tan. No, it's not about that. It's about you making sure that you take the time for yourself. And I know most people, they get lots of vacation time and they save it and they don't use it and then they end up losing. Yeah. So, and I think that's such a travesty. Like, we work so hard. We have to make sure that we use the time. And I'm not saying that you have to go to the beach, and I'm not saying you have to go on some grand vacation, but you do need to take some time for yourself, for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's important because if you don't, then you are deteriorating your health.
That's true. So, so one of the things that we do is, outside of just getting away and resting and relaxing, we always like to make sure that we're eating really healthy and taking care of the things that we need.
I know that specifically our country, U.S., tends to work a lot. And if you constantly staring at the computer, if you're constantly on a schedule from 9 to 5, you're constantly on the go, your body is intense. And, getting away from this and just simply relaxing and not thinking and not, running after everything, starting with the work, kids, everything. For example, I'm hosting a party in a week at my house, and I told my guests, please do not bring kids. Figure out how you can find time because you need time to relax and to just be you.
Yeah, unless you're breastfeeding, because if you're breastfeeding, you are federally protected and you are allowed to bring your child.
Well, yes. I know. So our week was great. Gosh, I wish I could extend it, but, living in the moment.
Yeah.
We got a lot of good stuff out of it, and we're moving forward, and we have a lot of stuff coming up.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about it.
We ate some wonderful crab legs, and we went to this little shop where we always cheat ourselves with dark chocolate coconut balls.
Well, not bowls. I mean, all kinds of stuff.
But all kinds of yummy stuff.
But that's a little summer treat. But the rest was good. Veggies, fruits, we were detoxing our body and combining that with good rest. Breathing air from the ocean.
Lots of sun, getting in our vitamin D.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. Now I'm starting to feel just a little bit, just a tiny bit, but Stephanie's amazing with little tips for, burns and peels and all that stuff. So coconut oil first and then shea
butter. Get some lavender essential oil on there when you get home. You'll be better.
Yeah. Preferably all natural, raw.
Yeah.
Essential oils, all that stuff.
Actually, I have some French clay that you can use to help exfoliate the dead stuff off too, but we'll get into that.
I will take that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So last week's homework.
Yeah, it was if you are in a position where, something is triggered, and I know we've done this before, but this is important, and it happens typically throughout your life. So it's not one thing, fixed. So if you're facing a situation with a person, with anything, and something is pushing your buttons, take your time. Don't react to it, and take your time and follow that feeling of whatever it is. Feeling of sadness, anger, frustration, anything, or love or joy. Like even joy, where, did someone trigger that, I guess? But I think our homework was more concentrated on pushing buttons, not the joy buttons, but buttons that are getting pushed. So to take a look, why is it a problem for you? Because everything we observe in life, it's a reflection of us, and not necessarily that's what you are, but if something bothers you and it pushes you out of your balance, out of your internal balance, then there is something to it. So that was our homework, and I hope everyone really paid attention and to yourself, paid attention to yourself, and took your time to explore yourself, and hopefully find something out, and when you find that stuff, you have to go through that. The point of understanding yourself is you have to go through experience of whatever feeling is arising. And if you don't, then you typically will bring that feeling back. Yeah. So, our homework was on the beach. We definitely didn't have not necessarily any buttons were pushed because we were in a good spot. And typically it's beaches. That's why, all the monks and gurus typically, go where there's not a lot of people. It's, they concentrate on their path. They don't concentrate on fixing themselves anymore or getting back into their core where they typically will be, but they now have to explore even higher and more expanded than just being in the matrix, I guess, in our life that we live here.
Oh, yeah.
So,
which is interesting because we're going to have an awesome guest coming on in September to discuss the matrix and programming and how to get out of it and all that fun stuff. Yeah. But I'm getting way, way ahead of myself because we have an awesome special guest on tonight, actually two. Watch out, pumpkin. Johnee and Brooke begin their plant-based journey simultaneously in 2010 after Johnee was stricken with a severe case of pneumonia. It was juicing and plant-based foods that aided in full recovery with more clarity and energy than she had initially. Brooke is a certified nutrition counselor who began the business model for Raw before ever considering a vegan lifestyle. Together, they launched Raw Inc. in 2012. The parent company of Raw on Wheels launched in 2014. The goal was high quality and convenience. They provide 100% organic, local, gluten-free, nut-free, soy-free, corn-free, agave-free, canola oil-free, and nutritional yeast-free options to their consumers. So I'm going to go ahead and get them on the line. Right now we have so many questions. Hi, Johnee and Brooke, are you there?
Hey, how are you, Stephanie?
Doing wonderful. So glad to have you on.
Yes, I'm so excited to be on the air with you all today. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, sure can. So first, I guess, can you just tell us, I gave them a little bit of background of what it is that you do, but kind of give us a little bit more information on kind of how you got into a raw lifestyle.
Well, me personally, I began a raw regimen in 2010, and as I heard you mention, it was due to a case of pneumonia that I was stricken with, and I have the biggest qualms against allopathic doctors just with the knowledge that I had in 2010. So I was able to self-diagnose. My best friend, Brooke, who I've known for about 10 years now, she was able to intercept and say, hey, have no worries, drink this juice. And matter of fact, don't just drink this juice for a day. Drink this juice for about 14 days with no solid foods. And so, from there, I was able to experience firsthand the benefits of a raw food or a raw diet, because at that time I wasn't doing any solid foods. I was just doing juicing to overcome the pneumonia. But I was able to experience firsthand as a results expert what a raw foods diet was about, and it made me want to delve deeper into the lifestyle.
Okay. So this has been about 6 years for you now?
Yeah, it's been about 6 years, exactly.
Okay. Wow, that's great. So what, if any, difficulties did you have transitioning into a raw lifestyle? Because I know a lot of people, like, their biggest concern is, like, how am I going to get enough protein? How am I going to get enough calcium? How am I going to get all these things that I get from whether it be meat or even cooked food? Because most people consume mostly cooked foods.
Yeah, cooked foods is the norm. It's what we're taught.
Yeah.
It's definitely the norm, and it's what's been marketed to me and the rest of us from birth. So that's what we know until we are educated on something different, until our awareness is raised. Protein is very important. That's something that's been repeated to me and millions of other Americans, is that protein, get your protein. And then there's a language that's been created to where when we hear the word protein, we automatically think animal product, or we think meat or red meat or chicken, whatever the case may be. Now, I'm kind of in a few different directions, so I definitely want to get back to the protein, but you mentioned any of my biggest challenges. Now, I will say, after being sick, so there's two types of change. There's forced change, and then there's inspired change. So inspired change is, I just had this epiphany, and, something needs to change. Forced change, I would describe me having pneumonia. I had something that could possibly have been life-threatening. If I didn't do something about it as soon as possible, then, it could have spiraled downwards. So it was forced change that got me into raw foods. And because of that forced change, in 14 days I was able to value the benefits of it, valuing the benefits so much that I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have pneumonia anymore. My lungs are clear from fluid and mucus. I have so much more energy and clarity. What is it to these foods? I've got to know more. I've got to incorporate more of them in my life, because I don't ever want to feel the way that I felt with pneumonia. Now, what made it easier for me, my transition, is I had an accountability partner. I had someone there that was willing to do it with me, someone that was there to challenge me along with themselves. I'm a competitive person, so when someone says, hey, I'm going to try this vegetarian-based or vegan-based diet for a couple weeks, you want to join me? It's like, I'll join you. And then 2 weeks is up, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to have my first piece of meat again. And the person that could be potentially challenging you is like, well, I think I want to go 2 more weeks. And it's like, well, if you're going 2 more weeks, then I'm not going to back down, so I'm going to go 2 more weeks too. And then 2 more weeks turns into a month, turns into 2 months, turns into 3 months, and then next thing you know, I'm a freaking vegan, and I'm loving it. Yeah, so it becomes a lifestyle. And what do they say? It takes 21 days to build a habit. It takes 90 days to lock it in as a lifestyle. So getting to the protein, I never really thought twice about not getting enough protein. I love to research. I love to come across new information, but I'm not necessarily a by-the-book type of person. I am a results expert. So a results expert is a person who has to go through the process, who has to experience it for themselves, and then they come back to the people and say, hey, guys, here's what I've experienced. Here's how it made me feel. You should try it too. Compared to a research expert who they may do a little reading, may write a couple papers, do a few essays, and they're like, hey, here's the research that I've done. Here's what I want to come back and share with the people, but this does not necessarily mean that I endured the process myself. So I am a results expert. I've been through the process. Now, as far as protein is concerned, I'll actually take a piece from Tom Rath. So I'm giving a plug to Tom Rath's book, Eat, Move, Sleep. And in Chapter 10 of that book, he discusses prioritizing your protein. And he says that we should have that you can consume more of your protein from a plant-based diet, even if you do eat meat. So he says increase your plant-based protein and decrease your carbohydrates. He says that research suggests that protein stimulates the cells that keep us alert, and it keeps us thin. You know, it keeps our metabolism moving. Thousands of people, millions of people in America, they spend so much time eating processed foods, refined carbohydrates, which we can get into later on. But mainly, him even having a carnivorous diet, he says that fruits and vegetables can make up your protein, and vegetables such as asparagus, avocado, you have your beans, you have your broccoli, your cauliflower, your chickpeas, your collard greens, lentils, peas, spinach. All of these can give you the protein that you need without consuming any animal products.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because that's one of the things that I always tell my nutrition coaching clients, that really there are so many other sources, or there's so many plant sources of the nutrients, the minerals that we need, that we do not have to get it from meat.
Right.
Yeah.
And I neglected to mention that getting your proteins from fruits, nuts, vegetables can increase the omega-3s. And just to let the audience know, omega-3s are essential fatty acids that protect us against certain cancers, cognitive decline, macular degeneration, and heart disease. So you get enough omega-3s. It can also help with depressive symptoms and also improve your mood. So you definitely want to get your omega-3s in. And if you don't mind me doing a quick plug on hemp, hemp seeds are a pure 100% plant-based protein and is filled with omega-3s, 6s, and 9. So, yeah, get some hemp seeds and get you some vegetables, and I'm pretty sure you can hit your protein quota.
Yeah. And it's much more easily digestible, too, than meat proteins, right?
Oh, yeah.
Except for, soy is pretty hard to digest, but I don't recommend soy ever.
Yeah, soy can be pretty hard to digest, and that's because of the heavy processing that soy goes through. As far as Raw on Wheels, the company, we are a soy-free company, and also in my personal diet, as well as I can speak for Brooke and her personal diet, we are 100% soy-free. Plant-based proteins are much more easily digestible because we have the enzymes compatible to plants that make it easy to digest. And everybody needs enzymes because enzymes help to repair the damaged cells in our bodies. So if you eat a diet that is enzyme-rich, then your cells will continue to regenerate at a natural speed. You will continue to digest the foods that you're eating without causing any obstructions. So if you are eating foods that aren't plant-based, that are highly processed, if you're doing a lot of animal proteins, then it can cause obstruction in the digestive tract, because what happens is we're eating so quickly and we're not giving our body time to metabolize heavy items such as beef, pork, other animal proteins. And, you want to give your body time to digest the foods that it's eating.
Well, right. And the reason it's so hard to digest is because of all of the waste, right? Because with meat, isn't there a lot of waste that your body can't use?
I would say that meat, there is a lot of waste, especially the way that our animals are being processed, because, there are people who are very cognizant and very particular about their meat selection. So they're getting farm-raised, they're getting organic meats, grass-fed, and the processing of these meats, they're better. They have less toxins, less chances of bacteria such as E. coli or salmonella. But at the same token, even the healthier grades of meat, you still want to eat in moderation. So hypothetically speaking, like I believe it's an ounce of pork, and please, listeners, correct me if I'm wrong, but I steadfast on this fact, that an ounce of pork takes about 10 days to fully digest, and for beef, I believe it's 48 hours. So I look at it like, you ever heard of the phone companies, and they have rollover minutes? Well, I call it rollover meat, because people who eat pork or beef every day, it's like, hey, slow down. You're not even giving your body time to assimilate what it's eaten 2 days ago. So sometimes for people who have a carnivorous diet or an omnivorous diet, they do eat meat, but it's about the quality of meat that you're selecting, and also about when you're eating. So sometimes it's not about what you're eating, or just as important as what you're eating. It's about when you're eating it.
Got it. Okay. Well, so I know that with a diet change such as going to vegetarian or vegan, a lot of times people do it to lose weight. Can you lose too much weight if you go to that diet?
Okay. Now, I guess that will be perception based, but let me run with it literally. Yes, you can lose too much weight, but here's the logic behind it, and one of my mentors shared this with me at the beginning of my journey. When you are rebuilding your body on a cellular level, this means ultimately making the decision to have a lifestyle change. So I'm going to have a full lifestyle change. I'm going to remove this from my diet. I'm going to become a plant-based eater via vegan or raw vegan. I'm going to change all of the products that I'm externally putting on my body, et cetera, et cetera. When you're making a lifestyle change, one of my mentors said that you cannot build on a faulty foundation. And what that means is there's so many people who decide, hey, I'm going to change my diet. Maybe they don't even decide I'm going to make a full lifestyle change, but I'm going to change my diet. I'm going to start eating healthier. And the body is pleased if you decide to eat more fruits, vegetables, plant-based options. Your body will reward you with more energy, more clarity. It will begin to speed up your metabolism. You will begin to digest things easier by starting to eat a plant-based lifestyle. But what it means to not build on a faulty foundation is, you can start eating a plant-based lifestyle and begin some sort of detox, but you have to be very consistent with it. You have to be consistent with it, and you have to go really, really intense in the beginning. As you heard with my personal journey, I went on a juice cleanse. It was a forced change, but I juiced for 14 days. which ultimately pulled a lot of debris off of the lining of my colon. And once I incorporated solid foods or fibers back into my diet, they were able to serve as a broom and sweep the debris that had been loosened out of my digestive tract. And then at that point in time, it was up for me to refuel and replenish with the proper food choices. So if I'm dealing with a client or coaching a client via Raw on Wheels, what I do is use this example about building on a faulty foundation. And depending on a person's goals and where they stand in their wellness journey, I'm going to always recommend a juice cleanse first. I'm going to always recommend a juice cleanse first, no less than 5 days, because a juice cleanse is like soaking a lasagna pan in hot, soapy water before scrubbing it. So take that lasagna pan, compare it to the body. If you begin to scrub the pan, a.k.a. start eating a healthy diet, incorporating more plant-based foods into your life cold turkey, yeah, you're going to cleanse a lot of the dirt. You're going to get that pan pretty clean, but you're going to take the risk of some of the cheese sticking to the corners and the edges of the pan, if you get my drift. Yeah, and the same goes with the body. Yeah, you can start eating plant-based foods. It's going to move through you, but it's not going to deep clean your digestive tract. You're not going to do a deep cleaning. A juice cleanse will give you a deep cleaning. I have people who are anti-juice cleanse. I know people who are anti-juice cleansing because they're like, it's a gimmick. This doesn't really do anything for you. And I would like to help to modify their perception by saying, okay, maybe you're right. Maybe the juicing doesn't do anything for you per se. But hear me out. It is a tool because technically the body should be strong enough and healthy enough to regenerate itself. It should be strong enough and healthy enough to get rid of toxins on its own without juice cleansing. But through ignorance, let's be real, through what we're taught from birth, that we spend so many years misusing and abusing the body that you do get to the point where it's like, okay, I'm deep in. I've been eating so much for the last 20, 25 years of my life, and nobody's told me any different, that I do need to do some type of intense cleansing regimen in order for me not to build on a faulty foundation. So after that initial juice cleansing or whatever, anti-juice cleansers, you're right. You may not need to go back to it, but it is a tool to help reboot your body and to help stimulate your body to do what it's naturally supposed to do. Anyways, the juicing is just a tool. So you use that tool maybe seasonally, maybe monthly, depending on how clogged up your body is. And then the most important part of the cleansing cycle is not the juicing. So if I put you on a juice cleanse, Stephanie, those 5 days you're juice cleansing, that actually is easy. Yeah, it may be challenging, but that's the easy part. The most challenging part is when you break fast. What are you going to refuel your body with? What happens now that your cleanse is over? You have to make sound food choices so that you can continue to build in the direction that you want to go. And ultimately, that's an example of not building on a faulty foundation. You want to get your foundation right so that you can rebuild from a clean slate. You have people who go and get colonics or do juice cleanses. They lean on it as a crutch, and then the next week they're back to eating their processed, their fast, and their high animal protein diet.
Back in line at McDonald's.
Exactly.
Well, Johnee, this is great information. We have to run to a commercial break real fast, so we will be right back with you in about 3 minutes, okay?
Okay, sounds great. Looking forward to it.
Please learn more about Freedomizer Radio by going to freedomizerradio.com and also Facebook us right at freedomizerradio.com. Catch you there.
Vaccines are required for students, employees, immigrants, military members, and international travel. Do you know how to legally avoid them? This is vaccine rights attorney and Freedomizer Radio host Alan Phillips. My vaccine exemption ebook can help you avoid the mistakes that have cost others their exemption rights. Get the authoritative guide to vaccine legal exemptions, an ebook available at freedomizerradio.com and vaccinerights.com.
Let freedom ring throughout the land.
Did you see this? The EPA wants to regulate water in our ditches now. Our ditches are dry most of the time. There's hardly ever any water in them. That's enough.
It's dry on my farm today, not a puddle anywhere. There's no water flowing, but the government doesn't care. Once more the EPA is knocking at our door. With a brand new rule, they want to regulate us more. They've tried before and we said no. Why should they control what doesn't flow? Agriculture's safe, that's what they say. It's what they always say. That's enough, that's enough. Can't take away anymore. That's enough, that's enough. The EPA and the Corps, they will try to justify, but we won't back down. Don't need more government anyway. That's enough, that's enough. No more power play. That's enough, that's enough. We won't back away. What can we do to ditch the rule? Tell the EPA. Don't need more government anyway.
Tell the EPA it's time to ditch the rule. Ditchtherule.fb.org. This is a message from the Missouri Farm Bureau. Contact them at 573-893-1558.
How would you like to make your work more enjoyable, be more creative and relaxed, all while sitting at your desk? That's exactly what my Serenity rug has done for me. This revolutionary footrest, I can't even call it a footrest because this thing encourages movement of your feet, which results in more blood flow. While traditional footrests advocate the motionless placement of your feet, I found that I'm unconsciously digging my feet into the long, soft grass strands of the Serenity rug. It delivers an incredibly relaxing sensation that closely resembles the feeling of an exotic foot massage. If you have ever had a foot massage that made you want to stay there for hours, you know what I'm talking about. If you have not heard about the Serenity Rug, check them out at serenityrug.com and join the exclusive Serenity Rug community and enjoy a feeling of comfort and relaxation that most will never experience. They've sold out before, so I suggest you do your feet a favor and grab one of these. Again, that's serenityrug.com.
There are a lot of problems with Common Core. I don't even have time to go into most of them, but a step in the right direction would be to give local communities, teachers, parents control over their schools so they can design curriculums and standards to best meet the needs of their students and get the federal government out of education.
All right, everyone, we are back on the air live with Johnee Wilson of Ron Wheel. Johnee, you there?
Hey, how are you? Commercial break is over. Glad to be back with you.
Yeah, we always enjoy those commercials.
Yeah, definitely. So, okay, what is it about raw food that's healthier than cooked food? Obviously,
oh, wow. Okay.
But cooked food, like, what is it?
I'll keep it simple. Cooked food creates more acidity. When you put something on heat, it will become more acidic. When you eat foods in their raw state, they are, plant-based foods, let me specify, because raw, I was looking at something, and some people ask me, does raw necessarily mean meat? And I tell them, it could mean meat. It could. There are people who eat raw meat, and I actually do encourage that if you do have a carnivorous diet, if you eat meat in its raw form, of course, high-quality animal protein, it is better for you. You're going to get all the enzymes. There are traditions and cultures, even in Ethiopia, they do a raw beef dish. And, hey, that person who consumes that dish is getting more enzymes and nutrients than someone who puts their steak on fire. So basically, it's just a difference between alkalinity and acidity. So even vegetables, if you look at plant-based foods, if you put some kale on the heat, and a lot of people like sauteed kale, you are creating a little acidity. And if you're using an oil, depending on what type of oil you're using to cook the kale, it can cause a release of free radicals and carcinogens, which are cancer-causing agents. So I'm going to go a little deeper and say olive oil. Olive oil should never be heated. I have lots of family and friends who cook with olive oil, and I'll share this information. You all do your own research. I highly recommend that. But olive oil, it does not take high heat. And so when you heat olive oil to a certain degree, it does burn, and it does begin to release free radicals or cancer-causing agents. And so over years and time of continuing to do that, it can be detrimental to the body. So, yeah, there are a few differences between cooked and raw food, and I would like to plug another book. There's a book by Dr. Arnold Ehret, and it's called The Mucusless Healing Diet, or The Mucusless Diet. Arnold Ehret describes foods in two categories. It doesn't matter what the food is, he describes them in two categories, mucus-causing and mucus-binding. Now, ironically, all of the plant-based foods fall under mucus-binding. And then you take your dairy, your meat, your acidic nuts like peanuts, your high sugar and high oily foods, they're falling under the mucus-causing category. So if you just based your lifestyle off of those two categories, when you pick up an item or you're about to cook something, ask yourself, is this mucus, is what I'm putting in my body mucus causing or mucus binding? And ultimately you want to eat foods that are mucus binding, because an overaccumulation of mucus in the body will throw off the pH of the body. A neutral body, the average pH of the body is between a 7.2 and a 7.4. So if you're anything less than that, your body is too acidic.
Right. Yeah. Well, but you know what? In the same token, you can be too alkaline too, right?
Yeah, you can have too much alkalinity in the body. You definitely want to find a perfect balance. So there are things that are acidic, for example, that are plant-based, like cashews. Oh man, do some of the people in my vegan community, in our vegan community, they love cashews. They swear by cashews. Yeah, they're okay in moderation. Raw and Wills is a nut-free company. I have many people say, well, what's wrong with nuts? Well, one, as a company, it's just easier for us to avoid the common 8 allergens. So it works for our business model to be nut-free, because then we never get that rebuttal or we never get that objection. Oh, I can't do nuts. I'm allergic to nuts. Oh, well, we're a nut-free company. And plus, we found the benefit that seeds, hemp seeds, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, sesame seeds, they are higher in protein. So you get higher protein from seeds than nuts. And my personal diet, this is independent of Raw Wills. And Johnee Wilson's personal diet, in moderation, every now and then I do have some nuts, some walnuts or almonds, because they are alkaline, maybe a handful of cashews. They are alkaline, but, they can be, depending on how much you're consuming, mucus-causing. So,
So that's more like a treat than an actual
it's more of a treat.
Eating a lot of something. Right.
It's more of a treat. And then you take something like a lemon, for example. Lemons are acidic, limes are acidic, but when we internalize them, they do become alkaline.
Right, because they leave an alkaline residue, right? Okay. Well, okay. So another question that one of our listeners had was, how do you manage to not get hungry on a raw diet? Or, I hate saying diet, more lifestyle is a better word.
Yeah, I love that. I'm so glad you asked that question because this is one of my favorite questions to answer. Yes, when you are living a plant-based lifestyle, you do get hungry. But the upside to that is when you do transition to eating more plant-based foods, you will become more attuned to your body because at that point, as I can go back, we're not building on a faulty foundation, so we're welcoming sound food choices into our life, healthy options, and you do become more attuned to your body. When you're clogged or full of crap, literally full of crap,
Literally.
Literally, when you're full of, I don't know if I can say that on the air, but
when it's internet radio, say it, girl.
Yeah, well, when you're full of shit, you're literally full of shit. It reflects in your exterior. It reflects in your interactions. It reflects in how you handle people in your family, your job. When you're full of it and you're full of toxins and obstructions, it does reflect in your interactions and how you handle issues, how you problem solve, et cetera, et cetera. So a person that has a more plant-based diet, I may get more hungry, but I can eat more guiltlessly. I eat about 6-7 times a day, and I don't count calories. That's another big question I have. What about the calories? What about the calories? What I explain is that it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. So when you're eating quality foods, they are metabolizing, they are assimilating, they are breaking down, they are giving your body the nutrients and the minerals that it deserves, and they are moving quickly out of the system. It's a great process. So you have something that's moving quickly out of the system, and then you're like, hey, bada boom, bada bang, where's my next meal? And then you can eat that next meal free of guilt, and then you can eat again in 2 hours free of guilt, and then 2 hours after that free of guilt because you're eating things that are easily digestible, easily metabolized by the body, and moving straight through your digestive tract and out of your system.
Nice. I'm going to ask you a personal question, Johnee. So what about your B12? How are you getting enough B12? Because I'm B12 deficient because I eat very, very little meat, if at all, and no dairy.
Okay, can I, this is an interesting question, and I'm not ashamed to say that I recently just found out the answer to this within the last 6 months.
Nice.
I just found out, and listeners, do your research, but B12 is something that we need to digest animal protein. And I guess I can keep it really short. If you're not consuming animal protein, the question then becomes, do you really need the B12?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I know I can cause a lot of controversy. I'm surprised the phones don't ring off the hook after this one. But do delve into that. Listeners, do your research. B12 is a vitamin that helps to metabolize animal protein. As a vegan, as a plant-based eater, if you are not consuming animal protein, then I pose the next question. Do you really need the B12? Are you really B12 deficient? Or if you are B12 deficient, is it really relevant?
Right, does it matter? So that's the only purpose that B12 serves is to digest animal protein?
I believe that's one of the most significant purposes of B12 is to assimilate animal protein.
Wow, that's so interesting because that's one of the big things that they say. They're like, oh, well, if you're a vegan, if you're a vegetarian, you're not going to get enough B12. You need your B12. That's so interesting. Well, that's really good to know. I'm going to look more into that for sure. But that's great, so I'm not deficient then.
or you are deficient and it's okay.
Right.
Like you're
right.
like so for example, you say you're not deficient, but if you are living a plant-based lifestyle and you are deficient, it's okay. Because what happens is, let me get a little bit deeper into that. So what happens is when you change your lifestyle, not your diet, when you change your lifestyle and you're consistent in that lifestyle, the body begins to produce or not produce things that it stops producing things that it doesn't need. So B12 would be one of those things. It's like, oh, I don't really need this, so I'm not going to spend so much energy producing it.
Got it. Okay.
But it kind of makes sense. Isn't it kind of like a common sense? You know, if your body doesn't, you know, it's almost like, why would you take, you know, B12? I mean B2.
12.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, deficiency is almost like not applicable.
Right. Exactly.
Well, okay. So, you know, I do have a question. So, say somebody is like raw food. Hell no, I'm not going to eat all raw food all the time. It's just not going to happen. It's not reality. What would you say a good percentage of raw versus cooked is to maintain at least a somewhat healthy lifestyle, or much healthier than most people are living right now? I usually tell my clients like between 80% raw, 20% cooked, and in the same token, that would be like 80% alkaline versus 20% acidic. What would you say?
I think 80 to 20 is a great percentage, especially someone who wants a superior quality of life. I kind of put it on a spectrum for my clients.
Okay.
So, for example, I do a percentage and then I have a category called the quality of life. So 0 to 20%. If you incorporate 0 to 20% raw foods into your diet, you're going to have a poor. I know this is a little crass, but it's, you know, your quality of life may be a little poor unless you're making.
Well, it is what it is. It's the truth.
Yeah, it is what it is. Unless you're making up for it with lots of positive energy, unless you're doing a hell of a lot of yoga and some other things to help to make up or help to recompense for that imbalance there. So really quickly before I get into the other percentages, Dr. Brian Clement from the Hippocrates Institute, he has a quote, and I love this quote, and I share it. It's called, you can have your seeds and sprouts with frowns and doubts, or you can have your hot dogs and beers with laughs and cheers. And the person that has their hot dogs and beers with laughs and cheers will have a better quality of living than the person who is stressed out but eating healthy.
That's a really good point.
Well, it is.
So there's other factors that are independent of food that can make a difference. But if you're just talking about food independent of everything else, 0 to 20% raw foods, you have a poorer quality of living. You get into 21 to 40%, you're going to have a fair quality of living. You get into the 41 to 60%, you're going to have a good quality of living. You get into that 61 to 80%, you're going to have, let me switch them. You get into the 41 to 60%, you're going to have a better quality of living. You get into the 61 to 80%, you're going to have a good quality of living. You go beyond 80%, you're going to have an excellent or superior quality of living. So the raw foods thing is a spectrum. And then the reason we choose to introduce it as a spectrum is because you're never telling anyone what to do or what not to do, but you're ultimately letting the client make the decision because they look at the spectrum and everybody's going to pretty much say, well, I want a superior quality of living. And then you have some people that'll say, well, I just want a good life. So 61 to 80% is good for me as long as I'm going to be good. And then some people are cool with, hey, as long as I have a fair quality of living. So then you allow that person to be the judge of the quality of living that they want. But once again, there's so many other factors to include, like exercise. Are you getting fresh air? Are you breathing? Are you getting sunlight? Are you staying hydrated enough? So there's so many factors to include besides diet, but just looking onto it from a diet perspective, yeah.
Well,
those are the
true.
percentages.
Right. It's true there are so many different aspects, I guess, to life that you have to look at when looking at overall well-being. But I always say, like, food is one of the things that you can really control. Like, you can control if you put that piece of cake in your mouth or not, right? You can control if you're going to have, I don't know, a hamburger or you're going to eat a salad. For the most part, like, most people have that option. I mean, in America specifically, like, most people have the ability to go buy, for the most part, what they want to eat, right? So the problem,
give or take, yeah.
But most people are choosing to either go through the drive-thru or eat all the processed stuff in the middle, because it's not necessarily that much more expensive to eat healthy. You spend money on crap, right? People spend a lot of money on eating crap. You could make better choices.
I mean, like,
you can certainly make more sound food choices.
Yeah, like McDonald's.
No, I was saying people spend.
It's
no,
cheap.
I'm sorry. I was adding on to what Stephanie was saying, that people ultimately have the choice. They can spend their money on crap. One thing, I think in America we have too many choices. It's ridiculous.
Right.
We have too many choices. It's we're a fast food culture that we should live on more slow food values, though. And this is something that Alice Waters speaks about. She talks about fast food culture versus slow food culture. And, you know, with the new age of organic, vegan, plant-based, juicing, exercise, yoga, this, that, with all of these things trending and becoming a language and therefore so profitable, you do have, you know, they are great trends that people are trying to weld the fast food culture with slow food values. It's working to a degree. You know, we're definitely getting some more quality options. But one thing I would say is you said people have the choice. One thing we do have the choice is what we put in our mouth. You are 100% correct. The problem with the choice is that the addictions. So you can take certain narcotics, and classify them as addictions. But sugar is an addiction. It's an addiction.
So true.
So, no, go ahead, Stephanie. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, sorry. No, I was going to say, I always say processed sugar, drugs, and bad relationships, they're all the same. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I love that. You said sugar, bad relationships, and what was the third one?
Processed sugar, drugs, and bad relationships.
Yeah, they're all the same. You have a bad relationship, you're usually going to go for the processed sugar or drugs, or you're either doing the processed sugar and drugs in the bad relationship. Yeah, they all pretty much tie together. So we live in a society where people are addicted. So it's because of that addiction, it is so hard to make the right choice sometimes. And that brings me back into the conversation about my personal journey. One thing that did make it easier is I had an accountability partner. If you're going to incorporate more plant-based foods in your life, if you're going to make this a lifestyle, tell people about it. Get people involved. Because you have to make people, especially people you're going to surround yourself with, friends, family, coworkers, you have to make them aware, one, not only so that they will know and not tempt you, but two, so that they can support you, so that they can hold you accountable. Because if you have someone to hold you accountable, it decreases the probability of you making the foul choice or the bad food choice. So, you know, make sure you're surrounding yourself with supportive people. I can say that's one of the best pieces of advice, is surrounding yourself with supportive people who are going to hold you accountable. And if you have some friends that aren't supportive of the healthy direction you're going in your life, as Shailene Johnson says, find new friends.
Exactly. Yes. Well, okay, Johnee, I know we have to let you go soon. So I wanted to let you give our listeners the homework for the week, and then give us just your contact information so they can reach you if they want to learn about more on wheels.
Okay, sounds great. So, listeners, my homework assignment for you this week, and I'll speak very slowly to give you all time to pull out a pen, paper, pull out your smartphone, open up your notes section, whatever's convenient for you. But there are 4 places in your life that I would like you to analyze. Just analyze where you are, whether it's a strength, whether it's a weakness, whether it's something you want to work on. I do believe measurement is the model for improvement. If you're measuring where you are now, or if you're able to write it down to really analyze where you are, it can set yourself up for success later. But if you have nothing tangible to look at, then ultimately you're kind of just going with the wind, and you're not calculating or measuring anything. Therefore, you don't know how much you're progressing or if you're not progressing at all. So the 4 areas of life that the foundations of your life that I would like you to analyze is 1, your relationships. And this could be the relationship you have with yourself. Do you put yourself down? Are you a self-loathing person? Do you have nothing but negative things to say about yourself? Or, on the contrary, are you affirming yourself, uplifting yourself, edifying yourself? And this is not just yourself, but your relationship with your family, your spouse, your companion, your coworkers, your boss. How are these relationships? Please analyze them. Number 2, your spirituality. Do you have a spiritual practice? I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about a spiritual practice. Do you meditate? Do you do yoga? Do you find time to walk out in nature with your shoes off, barefoot, grounding? Do you go to church? Is it something more religious based? Perhaps. Do you meditate? Figure out what your spiritual practice is. Do you believe in something greater than yourself? Or do you find time to self-reflect? So determine what your spiritual practice are and where you would measure that. Is it a strength? Is it a weakness? Somewhere in between. The next thing, your physical self. Are you physically involved? Do you move? Do you run? Do you work out? Do you go dancing every Tuesday night? Do you walk your dog every day? What type of physical activity are you getting? Are you moving your body? Please analyze that. And number 4, the final thing I would like you to analyze. So we have relationships, we have spirituality, we have physicality. The last thing is your work, your job. Is it stressful? Do you dread going to work? After a work day, are you just totally walking into your house and letting your work day dictate your relationship with your family, perhaps? Is your work stressing you out? Does it keep you up all night? Are you losing sleep because of your work? Really analyze these things. So based off of your relationships, your spirituality, your physicality, and your work, this all will determine your state of mind. And the reason state of mind, you haven't heard me mention raw foods one time, because the state of mind that a person is in, based on these 4 pieces of foundation, will determine the choices you make in the future. Because let's get real. If you have a stressful job, if you're if you're not in cahoots with your spouse, if you have a toxic relationship, if you're not moving, if you live a very sedimentary lifestyle, if you have no spiritual practice, if you don't believe in anything, then I don't think the next thing you're thinking about is putting a salad or something healthy in your life. You have to analyze those relationships so that it can help to change your mind to where you can notice where the root of your instability. And then once you analyze with the root, the possible, let me say possible, let me be very, very decisive with my word choice. If you analyze the possible root for your dysfunctions or your imbalance, it can put you in a better state of mind to align with where you want to be, not where you are. So please, people, analyze your relationships, your spirituality, your physicality, and also your work every day, and so that you can make better choices for yourself. We want you to be healthy. Do I believe that everyone should be raw? Sure. Of course I believe that, because that's my lifestyle and I know the results. Will everyone be a raw foodist? No. And the reality of it is no. 5% of Americans are plant-based eaters, and you have 95% of others who have an eclectic diet. So the answer is no. But do I recommend that you incorporate as many plant-based foods as possible on as many occasions as you can? Yes, yes, and yes. Yes. Yeah. So my name is Johnee Wilson. I'm the co-founder and holistic wellness coach at Raw on Wheels. To get in contact with us via telephone, the telephone number to contact us directly is 202-427-8082. If you would like to visit us via website, you can visit www.rawonwheels.com, and that's www.rawonwheels.com, and it's very congruent across the board. So on all social media platforms, from Facebook to Instagram to Twitter to YouTube, we are Raw on Wheels. And that's RAWONWHEELS, Raw on Wheels.
Awesome. Johnee, thank you so much for coming on. It's been great. And we're definitely going to have you come back on maybe later this fall to give us more information.
Yeah,
yes. It's Oxana and Stephanie. Let me tell you, it's been real. I really enjoyed conversing with you all here today on Body and Soul Awareness. And, I look forward to coming back in the autumn, talk about that autumn equinox detox and possibly how people can maintain their summer bodies even when fall and winter hit, because let's get real, as it gets colder, we're going to, as a whole, Americans as a whole will begin to naturally migrate towards the comfort foods. Definitely let's set up a part 2 to get back on here and tell you guys how to help to maintain your healthy balance as it gets colder outside.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and we'll be in touch, okay?
Yes, sounds great. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I like the way you grow it, no pesticides. I got to box it up. I like the way you grow it, so locally. I got to box it up. I like the way you grow it with no GMOs. I like the way you twerk it, no diggity, no doubt.
We've got squash and peas, pollinator packs for all your bees. Melons you wanna squeeze. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Hey, now that plant looks good. I wanna grow it. I wanna taste it.
You're my kind of girl.
Yeah. Tomatoes in full effect. Always in full effect. My girl Tilly's in full effect. Yeah. Peaceful Belly Plant Sale 2014. Yeah.
Search YouTube for Freaks of the Garden. PeacefulBelly.com. Support your local organic farmers.
There are a lot of problems with Common Core. I don't even have time to go into most of them. But a step in the right direction would be to give local communities, teachers, parents control over their schools so they can design curriculums and standards to best meet the needs of their students and get the federal government out of education.
U.S. trade negotiators are pushing to complete the TPP this year. They're trying to keep it under the radar. The best way to stop the TPP is to drag it into the light of day. Right now, negotiators have appointed approximately 600 corporate lobbyists to serve as cleared advisors on the TPP, while refusing to release any of their negotiating proposals for public review. The corporate media is unlikely to inform the public about the TPP. We need to do it ourselves.
Solutions to delusions. How do you do this? Well, join me every Friday night on the Delusion Solution radio show from 6 to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time and 9 to 12 midnight Eastern Time right here on the Freedomizer Network, where we will be discussing and discerning the times by making sense of current events and bringing to light much-needed topics. Our calling number is 347-324-3704 to listen in. Watching with your ears and listen with your eyes. I'm your host, Tara Dawn, and I'll see you there.
All right, everybody, we're back on the air. Wow, that was a great special guest. I always love having great guests.
Yeah, that was
really had so much information. And I've known Johnee for a long time, and she's such a beautiful soul.
Great. I liked very much how she emphasized that it's not just the raw diet, it's the lifestyle. It's how you live, how you move through life. What are your relationships? What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? So it's not just raw foods, which is very, very important, as she thoroughly explained. I loved it. Even I got a lot of information too. But the fact that you do, what is exercise means, what is your personal relation with yourself means, what is the relation with your partner, with your parents, kids, whatever, and especially the boss, the coworkers, that's where a lot of challenges are too. So I like that. I like that she really talked about, the whole experience, the whole change,
right.
And that it's typically sometimes it does take time. You can't just switch fast overnight. Everything takes a little time, but it lasts.
Yeah, it's definitely an adjustment.
And then also I love the point where you especially always stress about it. You have to start fresh from your clean foundation, your raw diet. You have to start fresh.
Yeah. Well, and the problem is, like she was saying, is for so many years we've been misinformed, and the people that taught us were misinformed, and then the people that taught them were misinformed. So we've got all of this bad information until we come to the point where it's like, okay, all there is carbs, fat, sugar, sodium, and that's what you have to watch out for, right? Calories, and calories is a really big one. But calories means nothing, really. Fat by itself means nothing, really, right? I mean, of course, there's like different kinds of fat and stuff like that, but it really individually, all of these different components that they've taken out and broken down really mean nothing by themselves. But yeah, it was definitely great information that she gave us. And I think another thing that was really good was that she's actually had the experience, right? She actually had an illness, and she empowered herself to get better. Now, like she said, she had help and she had someone to kind of motivate her through it. But I think illness is a great motivator to better yourself. I mean, I know I didn't personally have an illness when I decided to make lifestyle changes. My mom actually passed away. And I was like, wait a minute, like, I don't want this to happen to me. So it wasn't a personal illness that I had, but it was a really, really personal, close association that I had with someone that was going through something. So that's kind of what my catalyst was to make changes, and mine were overall changes.
Okay.
It wasn't just food. It wasn't just making sure that my body care products didn't have parabens in them. It was really taking time for me. It was, like Johnee was saying, it was doing my yoga. It was having time in nature. It was being around people that I loved that made me feel good. It was being in good environments that made a difference.
Because as you start changing, it's not even like, it's funny because you almost naturally get pulled out of these situations that are not healthy anymore, or you're being pulled toward what's inspiring, what's positive. Like it's funny because it's not happening just in your brain and your thoughts, because that's where it kind of starts, but also goes into your body and it rejects things that are no longer good for you. Even being in the presence of whoever that is not in a healthy life. But,
because their energy will bring, literally, they'll suck your energy from you and bring you down to the level where they're at.
Correct, yeah. Well, it's good to hear the inspiring stories, because for me, I've always had, it's different because I grew up with healthy foods. Let's just start like that. It's always been made at home, no GMOs, none of that. So, and I've always been active since I was younger. So I've always eaten healthy portions. I've always eaten meat, chicken, poultry. And when I ended up living in the U.S., and it was a long time ago, yes, but I continued eating the same portions and being as active, but I gained weight. And I didn't know, at that age, I didn't even know what to do with the weight, because I've never had to deal with that, and especially being younger and always active, like, okay, I'm eating, I'm active, what else am I not doing? But it's the foods that I was eating in U.S.
Yeah.
That pushed my body to where I wasn't truly recognizing myself, even though it was me and I wasn't, I don't know, maybe 20 pounds over, something like that, 15, 20, which for me was a lot. But the push for complete change was a surgery I had to have. I had a surgery on 10 centimeter fibroid in my uterus, actually, which, what I've noticed a lot of women have nowadays, more and more.
Yeah.
And I think people really need to look into what they eat, especially those women that have that.
Our hormones are so off balance. Stress is one of the main factors for having an imbalance of hormones. And then also it's our diet and lifestyle as well. Because if you're eating a lot of soy, and most people, even if you don't eat the edamame beans or whatever, if you look at the ingredient labels on all of the prepackaged foods, soy is in pretty much everything that you see. And soy is highly estrogenic. So when you're eating that soy and then you're taking your little pretty Victoria's Secret lotion and putting it on, it smells so good. It used to smell so good, but now it makes me want to throw up. But you put that on, and then you're also putting parabens in your body, and parabens are extremely estrogen. They create the same reaction in your body as estrogen does.
Okay.
Yeah, so now you have all this extra estrogen in your body, and it doesn't know what to do. And I'm just talking about females. Let's not even talk about what it's doing to the boys getting so much estrogen. Seriously. But as far as the females are concerned, we're overloaded with all this estrogen, on top of the fact that most of us are on birth control pills, further messing up our hormones.
Yeah.
And with that, what happens is your body's like, what the heck? what is going on? What do I do? Like, I don't know if I'm supposed to make this estrogen or not. And even when you start to change your diet and make adjustments, it still takes some time for your body to realize that, okay, well, I'm not getting the extra estrogen from either my food or from the food or the lotions or wherever else you happen to be getting it from. So it takes time to make those adjustments.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that I wanted to point out from when Johnee was on there, and one of the things that I totally stress to all of my clients is making sure your colon is clean. Because, so say you go through this whole detox process, right? Like you shake up all these toxins that have been stuck in your body for a really long time, but your colon isn't clean, right? So all those toxins are now just going to get stuck in your colon. So I really like the whole idea of juicing. Like, I know it can be difficult not chewing. I think one of the things...
Adjustment.
Well, yeah, one of the things that I tell my clients is, okay, so if you can do this juice fast for 3 to 5 days is where I put it. And if you can get to the third day, and after the third day you absolutely can't take it and you have to chew something, have a handful of nuts. That's all you can have.
I totally agree. And actually, when I was doing my detox cleansing, that's what I was using, even though we were talking that nuts not necessarily, potentially not that great for you because of mucus, but I still use nuts and apples kind of as my snacks, as kind of foods that are not liquid, just so my body can receive some solid foods when I'm doing the juicing or, green detoxes. So, but going back to what kind of inspired me to change the whole lifestyle is at one point I faced, quite a bit of kind of physical challenges where I was, going through this surgery, and I ended up saying to myself, that's it. I have to cut out meat. I have to cut out all of the processed foods, everything. So I started my slowly, one step at a time. At one point I remember trying to quit meat, and I just could not. Whether it was my body reacting, whether it was my mind reacting, I just could not. And that was before I hit the point of, I had to go through the surgery and just realizing that I need to make changes in my diet. So when I got to the point after the surgery, I actually went with ease into the, my diet without meat. It wasn't hard. First time when I tried, it was hard because I was pushing myself, but then second time after the surgery, it just went smooth and I didn't even pick it up. So, and then of course I slowly started changing everything, and, even fruits that I get, they have to be organic, or at least it's written and proved that it's organic. In reality, we never know. So I really enjoyed how I started feeling, because like Stephanie just mentioned, after third day, if you absolutely can't and you don't get that extra energy, then make your choice. But for me, typically after third day or maybe even fifth day, everything changes. The first couple of days are tough because your body's craving. But then something magical happens. You start gaining energy. You're not struggling anymore. You're actually blooming. I feel like I was blooming after, I think I want to say fifth day for me, the first time I did it. Then I started having energy, and it's funny because I'm in general active, and I like to go to the gym even if I'm doing yoga studio or dance studio, not necessarily just the gym, but I had so much energy. I'm like, oh my God, I want to go to the studio and dance and do yoga and create. And Stephanie was like, don't do too much. You're going through detox and the reason is it's not because of anything, but your body needs to concentrate their energy on cleansing, detoxing. So the energy shouldn't be going to exercising and all of the other things because you're already consuming less. Your body going through a little bit of stress because it's changing and adjusting. So yeah, consuming that, exercising and doing the additional movements, maybe stretches, maybe light stretches, and maybe walking. Maybe a little fast walking, but not too much. So I recommend not exercising during detox, but of course incorporating exercise you have to, because like we were talking earlier, it's a lifestyle change, and if you like to exercise and you can't or you don't, like for me, if I don't exercise, I don't even feel right because I know that's how I am. Some people don't need to exercise that much. But for me, it's not just for the physical form, it's for my soul. But everyone knows already because I've been talking about it before. So yeah, find your hobbies. Not just like, oh, I must go to the gym. Find your hobbies that get you moving. Maybe dancing, maybe exercise, maybe running, maybe get a dog, go running in the morning. It's becoming more popular nowadays, I think. I see a lot of dogs more and more in the mornings. So anyway, going back to me, I guess, I love my changes. And even though I was already pretty healthy to begin with, but apparently I had issues that were big for me. I had to have a surgery.
Yeah.
So I encourage people not to get to the point where you have to have a surgery.
Right.
Or even worse, I don't know.
Well, and the way you do that is literally just listening to your body. So those little aches and pains that you get, and you're like, oh, whatever, I'm just going to keep on going. I have to go to work. I have to take care of this. I have to do that. You have to pay attention to those things because those are warning signs from your body saying, hey, look, if you don't take care of this, something else might escalate, right? And, and a lot of times we just can't listen because we're so busy and our minds are so clouded with so many other things. So one of the ways that I'll tell you to get in tune with your body is just meditate. And I know for a lot of people it's kind of difficult to meditate. I know for me, when I first started meditating, it was so weird. Like, I'm like sitting there, and I don't know if you've ever seen Julia Roberts in Eat, Pray, Love.
I love that movie.
Yeah, she's sitting there in the meditation room, and the fly is buzzing around, and she's sitting there, and she feels like she's been sitting there forever, and she can't stop thinking, and she's like, all right, don't think. And it's been like a minute, and it seems like she's been there forever. Right. But I don't say necessarily don't think when you meditate. I think if you think, just let your thoughts kind of go, just kind of let them flow. But make sure that you're taking the time every day, even if it's just 1 minute, to sit there, get in tune with your body, and listen to what it's saying to you, because trust me, it's talking. Mm-hmm. And it's been talking for years. You just haven't been listening.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's interesting because nowadays I literally, like I was telling you a couple of days ago, I ate amazing pastry, cottage cheese pastry, amazing, delicious. I loved every piece of it, but I felt it. It was like a brick in my stomach.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because now when I eat food, like as soon as I put it in my mouth, like I think even before it has a chance to get to my stomach, my body's like, oh, wait a minute, what are you doing? Hold on, stop. Right? Whereas before, when I wasn't quite so conscious, it did take me a little bit of time before I was like, oh, that doesn't feel good, right? I was done with the cheeseburger before I was like, wait a minute, that hurts, right? Yeah. Whereas now, like, what was it that we had the other day when we were on vacation? It was, we had so bad, totally improper food combining, but we had a mahi burrito, right? And this bad boy was monstrous. It was huge, right? But it was like $14 burrito. I was like, I'm not going to waste this. So I'm sitting there.
We were hungry.
We're starving. We hadn't eaten all day.
Well, because we were at the beach, sun, everything, and your body is ready to eat.
And so I ate it, and I'm eating it, and like halfway through, I'm like, whoa, I shouldn't be eating this. But then I was like, you know what, this is a $14 burrito. I'm going to finish this. So like 20 minutes later, I came back to it, tried to eat more, and it was still just as painful, if not more. So, yeah.
So, yeah, because after you establish a new foundation, clean foundation in your body, well, not just body, but in the body,
overall,
you'll start feeling more and more and more all the things that are not necessarily beneficial to your health.
Exactly.
Yeah, and more. So.
Well, guys, thank you so much for listening. It's been another great show. Hopefully you got some really, really good information from Johnee on Raw on Wheels. We're going to put up all the information that we discussed on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Body and Soul Awareness Radio. If you'd like to contact me, Stephanie, you can reach me at Stephanie@EdensBalance.com, or you can call me on the phone, 571-572-2058.
And you can reach me at my website, www.oxanaganchar.com, OXANAGONCHAR.com, or email me at mindbodyandsoul@oxanaganchar.com.
Awesome.
And it was wonderful.
Yeah, make sure you guys do your homework and have a great week. We will be back with you live on Freedomizer Radio Sunday at 6 p.m.
Have a fabulous week.